Let's get stuck into it now. We're going to spend a fair bit of time on the leaks that have come out of Treasury in the last 8 to 10 hours, which basically spell out one of the major planks of tomorrow night's federal budget. And, of course, I refer to tax breaks on the road to recovery. Let's go straight to the front of the Oz. Now, we'll show you all the front pages that have got this story there, but the Oz is the one that has gone the biggest, and as you'd expect, being the preeminent newspaper in the country, tax breaks on the road to recovery. Average families will receive up to $5,000 in income tax relief, and young Australians will be targeted through a back-to-work wage subsidy in a budget that will map a path to economic recovery and seek to prevent a lost generation of unemployed. In the most important fiscal and economic statement to be delivered by a Treasurer in more than 60 years, Josh Frydenberg will offer a jobs lifeline for up to 700,000 Australians aged under 35 who have been forced onto welfare payments. He will also call on Australian households to turbocharge the post-pandemic economy through a revamped income tax plan that will deliver about $2,000 to the average earner and more than double that for households. An exclusive there by Simon Benson and Jeff Chambers. Oliver Peterson, we're going to sort of flick through the major front pages tomorrow, which have that story as well. But all eyes tomorrow night on Josh Frydenberg.
It is the most important budget of modern times, of course, Gleeson, and we will find out all of the detail around 7:30 daylight savings time tomorrow night, exactly what Josh Frydenberg reads into the Parliament. But these are significant announcements, significant leaks already. As you say, $5,000 to the average Australian household that could be back in the back pocket. That's really, really important money that hopefully most Australians will spend as well and stimulate the economy, whether it be buying a new piece of furniture, going on a holiday, perhaps doing some sort of renovation around the home, anything like that. Hopefully most Australians will be in a position whereby they can spend that money and help obviously create jobs. Really interested as well, Gleeson, in finding out the detail in this wage subsidy announcement that the Australian newspaper is running with tomorrow, because 700,000 Australians who are young Australians who are currently on JobSeeker, trying to encourage so many young Australians back into the workforce for the first time. And we have heard now for months and months and months the higher fee that is associated, the welfare payment that's associated with JobSeeker due to the coronavirus supplement, falling from $1,100 a fortnight to $800, has been for some Australians a payment that has not required the foresight, I suppose, or the desire or the will to really roll up your sleeves and go to work. Mutual obligation had also parted ways with the JobSeeker payment for a little while. So that's all back in there. It's just so important, Gleeson, and many, many Australians, many employers as well. You saw the stock market as well rise on the back of the hope and optimism that there'll be a lot of money injected into the economy as a result of this budget in terms of stimulus. But a lot of Australians really hanging off this budget tomorrow, Gleeson, because getting back to work or getting to work and over this next 12 months or so is so vitally important for the next 5 to 10 years of whatever Australia is going to face.
Ollie, it's interesting that the government has decided to put on hold Tranche 3, which is the more contentious elements of the personal tax cuts. Of course, that would have delivered up to $11,000 per person. The more contentious Stage 3 tax cuts for higher income earners scheduled for post-2024 will not be brought forward. And if you go to the front of the SMH, it says there very clearly, with Labor and the Greens warning against tax cuts worth $11,640 a year for people on annual incomes of $200,000, the government will put a priority on benefits for workers on lower incomes to avoid a Senate delay. Tax refunds could flow to workers within weeks under the plan to be backdated to July 1 this year, provided the Senate approves the bill quickly. So, interestingly there, Ollie, you've got this particular government, the Morrison government, deciding that its priority will be the second tranche, the Stage 2 of these personal income tax cuts. Obviously, cognizant of the fact that Labor would oppose the third stage, which is the more contentious stage, and it would also more likely be held up in the Senate if, in fact, it did go there.
Yeah, it would, and this is going to really wedge the opposition parties, isn't it, Gleeson, as well, to see whether or not Labor will support the tax cuts because, as you've mentioned, they've decided to leave out some of the wealthier Australians and really target, first and foremost, Australians who will be hanging off these decisions that are made in the budget tomorrow night. So that's important. It wedges, as I say, the opposition. It's going to be hard on the surface, of course, of the opposition to oppose these tax cuts. It's also going to be more politically palatable by the electorate to swallow the announcements that will be made in regards to tax cuts because the Morrison government's obviously going to be hedging its bets in regards to the electorate's response, in regards to the opposition's response, and just see whether or not that this can be passed through the Senate, as you say, as quickly as possible. Backdated as well to the start of this financial year is an interesting move. But also, Gleeson, there's got to still be some money coming into the government's pocket. So, I mean, we're still looking and staring down the face of $1 trillion in debt. I mean, this is going to take generations and generations of Australians to pay off, if it ever at all.